Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on RowAuctions.com as they are the sponsor of this program. Additionally, the show will be posted on YouTube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We've got a lot of topics today. To help us out, we got several real estate and auction leaders calling in today, and we're going to have Michigan calling in. We're going to have North Carolina calling in. We're going to have Georgia calling in. So, good show. Now, as always, the radio show mission statement for this program is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. A couple things that I'll be feeding in throughout the show, depending on timing, is number one, a couple of weeks ago, I was down in Miami Beach, did a very, very nice conference in a remote show down in Miami Beach at the Trump Resort International Tower right on Miami Beach. Had some very VIP guys on the show talking about a new Auction Point commercial real estate event of the year. Exciting stuff. Kind of a new industry thing where they're inviting other auction firms, other real estate companies to be invited and to participate. And that's different from normal, folks. Usually it's dog eat dog and cat clawing and, trying to beat out your competitor. And this is more of a, hey, this is going to be something new for the industry. $350,000 is going to be spent in marketing through Auction Point and Sperry Van Ness. So exciting stuff there. And also, the thing I want to settle in on too is we have still not got a bill passed to sell these government surplus properties. The number seems to be creeping up, but I'll still go with the 14,000 government surplus properties, which is the number that the president put on 2 years ago, saying that wants to sell these properties and help the burden of the taxpayer because closing cost, according to the GAO now, it costs us $1 billion a year in holding cost. $1 billion a year in holding cost. So, not good. Not good. And, I've heard that there's a budget deficit up there in Washington. So if you've got properties that you're not using, perhaps a good idea is to maybe sell them and help offset the budget. Let's go to our first caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. Bob Pliska.
Bob, well, thank you so much for calling in. And for our listeners, Bob is from the Detroit, Michigan area. Sperry Van Ness, commercial real estate advisor, has been on the show many times. I love to hear about Detroit because it's really kind of a Cinderella story from the pits, basically 5, 6, 7 years ago, to something that is going gangbusters. But let me have you talk about that again for our listeners. Tell us what you do, and Bob, tell us how you got into real estate, because I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah, my name is Bob Pliska. I'm with Sperry Van Ness, which is a commercial real estate firm which has, I think, now up to about 175 offices throughout the country. I noticed in our latest press release.
Wow.
Again, buy, sell, lease, finance commercial properties across the nation. As to how I got into real estate, it's kind of interesting because I really started out as a accountant in a sense. Joined PricewaterhouseCoopers, and my first engagement was a commercial real estate company that built various office buildings and multifamily complexes. And from there, it set me for the rest of my life, for the next 40 years or whatever, because of the the lingo. Because in college, you're taught manufacturing widgets and so forth, and when you get real estate, you're talking escrows and other different types of language. So it's important that an auditor or an accountant knows what he's talking about. And from there, I joined one of my clients and got involved with probably $400 or $500 million of development across the country. Actually, wow. Joined a company in Orlando, Florida for a couple of years where we took over a publicly held company and was going to create it into a REIT. And this is where I-4 and the Florida Turnpike cross. Okay. Right near, in fact, all the land that this company had was sold to Universal Studios to build Universal.
Hey, Bob, you're a little light on the volume. Can you do anything on that, or are you on a cell phone?
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. So I have an interesting background, starting out in the accounting industry, auditing and doing accounting, tax, and consulting for clients, and then actually ended up as a commercial real estate advisor, broker in the industry.
Well, being an accountant, that's all about numbers, and I know there's a little emotion involved in commercial, but a lot of it is numbers. It's more of a business compared to perhaps residential, where you gotta be close to that lake even though it's overpriced, or you really like that bathroom and kitchen, and you're close to friends, and the schools are good, and so in residential, I think emotions take over a little bit more than perhaps commercial, where it might even be a group of people deciding what to do in regards to buying, and so it's more accounting, it's more numbers. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, and that's kind of why I like the commercial side versus the residential side, because on the residential side, there's, in fact, one program that I listened to talked about the individual looking for a home, and the big thing, the big closing point was the flowering cherry tree in the backyard. The property, the house was basically falling apart, but they sure loved that flowering cherry tree. So emotion came into definitely a big part into that particular transaction. While in commercial, there is emotion, but it's a lot of it is based on numbers. If you're looking on the investment side of the business, you're looking at the rate of return, the cap rate, what will I get out of this, or if you're an owner-user, will this be a useful building for my company that either I'm going to buy or lease?
The cap rate always comes up, and it's confusing to some. Can you explain that a little bit? Our listeners are a lot of real estate people, but a lot of those are residential real estate people. We also have bankers and attorneys, and they probably know that stuff, but we do have the general public. So explain the cap rate a little bit for us.
Cap rate is basically a rate of return, just like if you put your money into the bank and got 1% interest, which is typically the rate right now.
Isn't that crazy? Yep.
One of the reasons you might want to consider buying real estate is it can get a higher rate of return, and that's basically how the cap rate goes. So if you, for example, purchase a property for $1 million and you get $100,000 of income from that property, your cap rate would be that 10%, which is the $100,000 of the $1 million. So you're basically, that's the rate of return that particular property generate based on the purchase price that you paid for the property.
Very good, and that's very simplified version, but that's perfect. That's perfect. Tell us about Detroit. I kind of stole your thunder a little bit, saying that it's gone gangbusters comparatively to where you were, but relive that dark past for us, and say what's happening now.
Well, the dark path was 2008, 2009, when the economy went bust, and obviously Detroit is very heavily auto-related. So the Ford, GMs, and Chryslers really took a tumble in that particular point in time, where two of the big three, GM and Chrysler, actually ended up filing bankruptcy. From that point in time, we definitely have turned the corner and have turned the operation, or the auto industry around,
right,
where we are definitely selling cars more and more every year. And again, there is a tremendous demand, which backup demand that has been left because nobody was able to buy those cars in 2005, 6, 7, and 8, and 9 when times were tough.
Right.
So as a result, there's demand there every year. And the auto companies are doing extremely well. They're showing billions of dollars of earnings, and not only that, it creates other industries around here. Like, we're very heavily involved in technology. It's very difficult to find engineers anymore in the area.
Really?
And we're doing some alternative energy too. So if you're an engineer, you can pretty much name your price right now because of the high demand for quality engineers right now.
Isn't that great? That's great. And you and I have worked together before, and our story, when I go up to Washington, D.C., it's like the example of what they can be doing. We did it on a statewide level, but it's a certain perfect example of what Washington can be doing with their 14,000 properties. So lay that out for us, if you would, Bob.
Yeah, thanks to you and individuals like Louis Fisher.
Yep.
And others on this team. The state of Michigan had a property that was basically deteriorating, excess property. It was a former psychiatric hospital sitting on 400 acres of land in a very decent suburb of Detroit, Northville Township.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened there, the state tried to sell this property several times and were very unsuccessful in doing that. So we were able to convince them that the auction was the one way to do this, to get rid of this particular property. And as a result, from the working with them, we were able to sell a $31.5 million property, which that was the ending price on that particular property.
Mm-hmm.
For the state. And from that, they were able to eliminate a substantial excess property that was not being used. It was costing them $500,000 per year in maintenance costs and security costs. And currently, right now, that particular property, there's a 100,000 square foot medical center being built by the state of Michigan on that particular property. There's about 80,000 square foot of retail that'll be going on that particular property. And I actually heard a couple days ago that there may be a senior housing project going on that particular property.
Really?
So you're taking a property that was totally useless and actually a detriment of costing the state $500,000, and we turned it around, was able to sell that property for $1.5 million and put a lot of that property back on the tax rolls for the city and the state. And so it was definitely a great turnaround situation. It was very helpful to all of us.
Well, a win-win situation, and of course, you know, my I guess my passion up in Washington, D.C. for the last year and a half, 2 years, is they've got 14,000 properties similar to an abandoned state psychiatric hospital that are not being used. How long was the state psychiatric hospital been abandoned by the when we started to sell it? Do you know what that was?
It was abandoned for like 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And then the state tried to sell it, through the normal approach by putting it on the market, and then for whatever reason, they never were able to get to a closing. So, compliments of you and Louis Fisher and the team,
right.
we were able to convert this property from a unsaleable item to a actual item which the state was able to close on.
Why does it, and this is a question I get all the time when I talk about these 14,000 properties being a big cost to the American taxpayer, and the GAO puts it at more than $1 billion a year. What is the holding cost? And let's pick it from the state psychiatric hospital as an example. What kind of things would it cost the government, in this case the state, to keep it every year?
Well, you have the cost of the actual security of the property. On this property, for example, this specific property had tunnels, which were potential liability, where children could get into those tunnels.
And they were, if I remember.
And they were, right. And you had buildings that were basically falling apart. I think there was at least 20 to 25 buildings on the property.
Yep.
One large building where the hospital was, but also a lot of ancillary buildings, and these were crumbling and causing potential hazards.
A lot of
insurance costs.
A lot of asbestos, if I remember, for at least one of the buildings. So you don't want people in there, of course. Yeah.
And it's just the maintenance of the property, cutting the grass and making it look halfway decent. Here you are in a community that's pretty much of an upscale community in Detroit, a western suburb of Northville Township, and you have a facility that, if you let it go with the grass growing and out of control and so forth, you can't let that deteriorate too much. Otherwise, you'll have the community having up in arms because of you're deteriorating the community because of the asset is not being maintained.
Well, let's talk about the neighbors. And I know we talk about a property that may be being foreclosed as residential that kind of hurts the neighborhood for prices and all that kind of stuff. But I think it does the same thing when it's a commercial property. So you've got this abandoned state psychiatric hospital that's been abandoned 2, 3, 4 years, pick a number. And, when it was in full service, I'm going to guess there was hundreds of employees, hundreds of people coming in, guests, visitors, probably using the local businesses, whether those could be dry cleaners and restaurants and who knows what else. But then all of a sudden you close it up. I mean, doesn't that, number one, hurt the businesses in that area and also maybe the value of the properties?
Yes, definitely deteriorates the values. I mean, if you wanted to purchase a home, for example, located near that particular property, and you see a deteriorating hospital that's not being used or taken care of, you have an issue there.
Okay.
In addition to the fact that the employees, as you indicated, they're not in the hospital using the various shopping centers, retail outlets, and so forth near the area, creates a depression in that specific market.
Local gas stations, supermarkets, all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Right. So they are losing dollars, and they're not making dollars as they should, in addition to not having the activity in the area, which would create value.
Well, we've got something. I was just telling the people on the listening that 2 weeks ago I was down in Miami Beach. The Sperry Van Ness Real Estate Conference was being held, and Auction Point is holding a commercial real estate event of the year, I believe is how it's deemed. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure you might be involved in it.
Yes, Auction Point, we did a very successful auction of approximately, I think, $100 million of properties back in October of last year, and because of that success, we are doing another auction in which not only Sperry Van Ness, but other firms are welcome to join us. In fact, as far as I recall and see the information coming in, we've got firms like Colliers, Lee and Associates, CBRE, Marcus and Millichap, et cetera, that are involved in this auction. And what this is you, for example, and it's a win-win for everybody because it's a win-win to the brokers, to the sellers, and to the buyers because we're all in the process of solving an issue and creating a situation where it's a benefit to everybody. So if, for example, you are a broker with Colliers or Sperry Van Ness or CBRE, you can input your property into this auction, and by doing so, you have the opportunity to get it basically worldwide known that this property is available for sale, i.e. creating demand for your property. With that, I think one of the big pluses of this particular auction is that the firms involved are contributing $350,000 of marketing cost to this property. A normal auction, for example, on the state of Michigan, as far as I recall, they had to pay around $100,000 just for marketing to get this property sold. With this, there is absolutely no cost to a broker or a bank or an individual wanting to put their property into this auction, and they're getting this free marketing across the world, really.
And the last one was very successful, and I think they had 13,000 unique visitors going to the website, which just means that there's going to be even more this time. So a great opportunity. That's auctionpoint.com. But tell us how people can reach you for maybe this auction or for perhaps Detroit commercial real estate properties that you might be able to assist them.
Okay, my name again is Bob Pliska. That's Pliska. I'm with Sperry Van Ness. My company is Sperry Van Ness Property Investment Advisors. I'm based in Birmingham, Michigan, which is a northern suburb of Detroit. My phone number is 248-433-1400. Email robert.pliska@svn.com. And also I'm very actively involved in the social media, where my Twitter handle, for example, is R as in Robert, Pliska. And if you can go to LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, we're there also.
Very nice. Hey, Bob, thank you so much for calling in. You're one of my favorite callers and letting me know about Detroit and talking about that great auction we did years ago. That's really a good example for the people up in Washington, D.C. to figure out what they're doing with all these properties. Bob, thank you so much. You have a great weekend, and again, thanks for calling.
Thanks again, Doug, and appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Bob. Take care. All right. That was Bob Pliska. He is from Sperry Van Ness, which is a commercial real estate firm up in the Detroit, Michigan area. He talked about an upcoming auction. AuctionPoint.com is doing a big commercial real estate sale, and also talked about the deal that we did together selling a hospital for $31.5 million. We're going to go to a break. We will be back. Thank you for listening. Okay, we are back. You're listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM studios. We just had Bob Pliska on from Sperry Van Ness Commercial Real Estate Advisors. He's from the Detroit, Michigan area. He talked about a couple things. The fact that Detroit has done so much better after a real tough time. And when I say tough time, I remember 4, 5, 6 years ago, they were almost giving away homes because they were in bad shape and no one wanted to buy them. And now, you know, they're doing much better residentially. They're doing much better commercially. And so kudos to Bob. And let's go to our next caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
This is Rod Santomassimo.
Hey, Rod. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and you have been on the show again. And tell us and the listeners what you do and where you're from, sir.
Oh, it's always good being on your show, Dennis. Thank you very much. My company, the Massimo Group, is a commercial real estate brokerage, coaching, and consulting organization. We have clients throughout North America. Our clients comprise of every major commercial real estate firm, many regional firms, and obviously several independent firms. And our clients work with us to, quite frankly, maximize their income, whether it's an individual broker, whether it's a team of brokers, or an organization. That's all about what we do.
Well, I did a little homework on your website, I guess yesterday, the day before. A lot of the people that you coach or you consult with are already doing very well. And I guess from that information that I got, you're trying to take them to the next level. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's a great question. Originally, when we evolved this Massimo Group concept, the majority of our clients were, in fact, successful brokers who wanted to take their game to the next level. And as the company grew, we started securing clients who were, let's say, mid-career and really producing what we consider average commissions and showing them that our systems and tools would take them to a higher level of commissions. And then this year, in fact, next month, we'll be launching our first ever new-to-business coaching program to get a fast and accelerated start and a better enhancement of survival rate for new-to-business brokers. But yes, regardless of their tenure in the commercial real estate arena, they engage with us and a coach because they recognize that as well as they may be doing, or if they're struggling, there's got to be a way to do better. A coach should get you to a level where you'll be doing better and producing more.
And you mentioned that you do this for almost every large commercial real estate group out there. That's pretty cool. In fact, I was at Sperry Van Ness's real estate conference, and I think I sent you something that your name was out there, and it looked like you had a big presence there. So again, kudos to you for that annual real estate conference and being shown there as a visionary and a place to go to move it to the next level. Go ahead.
Well, we've been fortunate, and some firms, our relationship is simply working with a small group of individual brokers, and other firms it's actually doing corporate programs. But we've been fortunate in that regard, and certainly, what can I say? Thank God, and we continue to move forward.
Do you just deal with people that perhaps have CCIMs, or again, I heard the part where you're going to start a new program to get people that are just in the business, an accelerated version. But are most of the people CCIMs?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
okay.
No. And now, and most of our coaches, just by design in many ways, we have to have experienced coaches in the real estate arena. So, in fact, all our coaches are CCIMs, and many of our consultants we work with are CCIMs. But no, absolutely not. I'd say a vast majority of our clients, our coaching brokerage clients, are not CCIMs. And CCIM is certainly a fine designation. I'm one myself, and that is a great tool set, and for some a great network. But for others, it depends on the market they're in. It's just not a necessity in the market they may be in based on what they do. But no, it certainly is not a requirement to be a CCIM. In fact, the majority of our clients are not.
Okay. And for our listeners, and again, they're real estate people and auction firms and real estate media and bankers and bankruptcy officials, but we have a lot of, general public too. What is a CCIM, if you could?
Certified Commercial Investment Member. What that means is the individual designation was achieved by going through a series of courses and varieties of focal points that are attributable to the investment arena of commercial real estate, whether it be market analysis, investment analysis, negotiation strategies and tactics. And through those courses, and there are 4 core courses plus an additional course and, of course, an ethic course, then you take a final exam and you receive this designation after passing all those individual courses on a comprehensive exam. And it could take several years, and a lot of studies, a lot of travel, but by the time you reach your CCIM, you also have to qualify based on the number of transactions you completed. So with that, in addition to an SAOR and others, certainly there are fine accreditations in the commercial real estate arena.
Well, very good. I'm thinking as a example of someone that would want your services. Let's say I've been in the business for 5 or 6 years, and I'm doing commercial real estate, and I'm making a good living, but I kind of get upset with myself because I'm not doing 20% more than the year before, or 30% more, or getting those big deals, and my competitors are getting those. How would you help me? Give me some suggestions.
Sure. First and foremost, something you mentioned, your audience. We started out as a commercial real estate brokerage focus, and in the past years, we've now started coaching lawyers who work in the commercial real estate field, mortgage brokers. Certainly, we'll be soon coaching appraisers. I see in the near future, and then it'll be even folks who focus on auction, Dennis. So there's a lot of things we do within the arena that apply to anyone. So someone like yourself, who's a seasoned veteran, mid-career, not happy with where they are, they hit that plateau. With all our clients, regardless of who they are, and Dennis, we have clients that are newer to the business, 2 or 3 years in, and we have some clients I have a client myself who is the top commercial investment broker in the top commercial firm in New York, and even he thinks he should be doing better.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they all go through the same process. The first thing we do is we diagnose their practice in a variety of ways, but our proprietary platform that we call RAMP allows us to dissect anyone's practice. And from there, we'll set forth some specific levers, we call them success levers or initiatives, that they need to focus on to move their business forward. And then them and their coach will create specific action plans for something that happened within a 3 or 6 month period. And during the 12-month engagement, and it could vary depending on the program, we will make sure those new strategies and tactics are ingrained in that person's business and become processes. And the beauty about coaching, we find, and I'll give you a statistic in a second, is that once your coaching relationship is over, in many cases it's over after a year. Some of our clients with us are 4 or 5 years, but your income will continue to grow because you set forth a platform for continued income growth based on the practices that have been applied through your coaching relationship. And if I can give you one quick statistic, we just did a webinar where we surveyed 400 or so commercial brokers across North America, all levels of experience, and we asked them, what do you think the average gross commission income is of a commercial real estate broker? Dennis, what do you think that is? What do you think the average gross commission is? This is before any splits with the house or anything. Well, how much do you think that is?
For a commercial real estate broker, before splits, I'm going to say $100,000.
Okay. And by the way, Dennis, I think you're pretty darn close, personally. I do. According to the NAR with their surveys and the Bureau of Statistics and their numbers, they suggest it's closer to 170.
Really?
I'm telling you that number is inflated because they want people to gravitate towards commercial brokers to get the number higher.
I got it.
And based on what we see, the number is probably closer to 130 to 140. Okay. That's, I think, a fair gross number, which means, if you think about it, people are only taking home $60,000 to $70,000
right.
on average in commercial brokerage.
Right.
So, because the number of brokers, how it's skewed, the Massimo Group, our clients, in 2012, and those clients we surveyed what they produced in 2012 that we hadn't worked with in 2 or 3 years, their average gross commission income was $683,000.
Whoa!
Now, the point is not to say, hey, of course we'll promote our business and our services, but the point is this: if you apply the strategies and tactics, those strategies and tactics, well beyond the scope of your coaching relationship, should continue to be reinforced and should continue to grow your practice. I mean, there's a significant difference there. And that's the key to what we work with and how we work with our clients.
Now, is it more personal things that you might be doing wrong, and I'm going to throw out some stuff that maybe you're not getting up early enough, or maybe you're going to lunch with friends rather than possible potential business? Or is it what you teach more of, hey, you need to be using social media more. These are the courses that you need to do. Give us kind of a fix on, is it more personal, or is it that they just don't know what to do business-wise?
Well, I would say it's a combination of both. Certainly the habits of any one individual need to be reviewed in order to define a program that gets into the next level. And those habits include some that are lower in the work ethic scale, and certainly those need to be addressed. In fact, when we as a coaching organization, obviously we're very analytic and look at all the numbers and look at hours worked, look at income produced, look at number of times you go out on a lunch or phone calls, and all the numbers that generate. There is certainly a correlation between the production piece, and that really is, the income you make, and three key things here: the number of prospecting activities you have, so that's the phone calls, letters, asking for business; the number of presence engagements you engage in, so that would be the lunches, the food and drink opportunities, the networking sessions, and the like; and more certainly, believe it or not, the number of hours you work.
Yeah.
There's a high correlation between hours worked and income made. It just is. And there's no, when you see these younger brokers or even mid-career brokers saying, I work at least 35, 40 hours a week, and it's just not working out. Here's the key difference. That mindset is, I'm an employee. I'm an employee, and I got this, employee hours. Top producers recognize right away, because they're mostly independent contractors, they own their own business. So Dennis, as a broker, you own Dennis Inc., no matter who your broker in charge may be. And those who run it as a business will obviously work longer hours, will pay more attention to those keys of working on and in their business, in the great world of Michael Gerber and the E-Myth, obviously, and all those elements go into play to how to produce income. And all those elements go into play in how we coach our clients.
Well, that's fascinating stuff. How can people reach you, Rod, in regards to training, or maybe there's seminars that they can join in, or possibly it's a large group of brokers that want you to teach them as a whole?
Well, I'll make one comment because you used the word I cringe on, Dennis. Right, here's what I just because it's not what we do. Training.
Okay.
Training is excellent. I mean, there are some fantastic trainers in our industry. There truly are, and we refer out many people to trainers.
Okay.
We coach, and the difference to us is this. Training is for the moment. Training is a quick webinar. Hope it works out. Good luck applying it. Goodbye. Thanks for the fee.
Got it.
That's to me. That's training.
Got it.
And it's certainly important. It gets you off to a great start. What coaching is a platform. It's a program. And think of it as being a partner. And through that relationship, we'll stick with the P theme. Then you get progress. You get production. That's what coaching is. Now, do we offer private webinars and do we offer individual consulting sessions? Absolutely do. The best way to reach us is on our website, which is Massimo, that's Massimo -group.com. Or you can always call our 800 number at 1-800-517-5542.
Very good. Give us that website one more time, please.
Massimo, Massimo-group.com.
Very good. Hey, Rod, thank you so much for taking the time on a Friday to call in and kind of give us new indications on what's happening on your coaching level. And again, kudos for being really in the forefront of the Sperry Van Ness real estate conference. I saw your name several different places, and so that must be a good thing for you.
Well, Doug, I want to thank you for your time and your energy and your contribution to the not only our organization but to the industry. You're definitely a thought leader out there, and it's people like you that make this work fun.
Hey, you take care. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Doug.
Bye-bye. All right. Good Good interview from Rod. Good interview from Bob. I want to take this time to do a quick ad, and then we're going to be right back because I want to talk to you about the government one more time.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
All right, we're back. What I want to talk about, again, was the government. They've got 14,000 government surplus properties. And Fox News had a story on. It was a video. It was published on December 28th, 2012, so just a couple months ago. And I just haven't given enough play, so I'd like to do that right now, if I may. It's termed "Time for a Yard Sale. Selling excess property could net government billions." Again, foxnews.com. And it says, when families face a budget crunch, they have but a few options: spend less, make more, or starting selling stuff. And so it says, so why doesn't the federal government do the same? Given the current state of the country's finances, many are wondering if it's time for the federal government to sell what it doesn't need. Basically, hold a yard sale. The federal government is sitting on billions in assets that are either sluggish or just dead weight. That includes federal land, buildings, and other structures. 2 years ago, President Obama's Deficit Commission identified 64,000 buildings and structures that it deemed excessive, underutilized, or vacant, and recommended should be sold. You remember in the beginning of the show, I said, I'm sticking with the 14,000 properties. That's enough for anybody to deal with, but they're saying there's 64,000. But no matter what. So instead of raising taxes, which takes money out of the economy and lowers economic activity, we ought to be looking at selling federal assets, says Myron Ebel with the Competitive Enterprise Institute. The options are practically limitless, like an empty Veterans Affairs Hospital in Los Angeles, which could yield $5 billion, or parts of a former military base on the San Francisco waterfront. In both those cases, though, politicians said no to selling off the assets. Loretta Doan, former administrator of the General Services Administration, said the problem of the years has been that lawmakers representing their states and districts have gotten in the way of what is the best for the nation by preventing the sale of some of these properties. The GSA is responsible for managing that inventory. The GSA, and by extension the U.S. government, is America's biggest landlord. It manages nearly 900,000 buildings. Listen to that again. 900,000 buildings and more than 630 million acres of land, the latter of which was estimated to be worth $833 billion in 2008. Selling just 20% of its empty or underperforming buildings would save an estimated $2 billion. You go through your garage, you clear it out, the government is no different. It is just a matter of scale. It's not just land and buildings that could make a difference. Selling Amtrak could net $60 billion. 2 taxpayer-owned utilities, the Tennessee Valley Authority and Bonneville Power, would bring even more. Ebel suggested that going forward, a commission could review all federal assets and decide which could be sold with the least loss to the common good, and then present a plan to Congress for an up and down vote. Given that the federal government already owns 28% of all land in the United States and $500 billion in mineral rights, the tax foundation called selling unused assets and buildings one of the least worst options for raising cash. But so far, a national yard sale does not appear to be in the works. Lawmakers, as part of talks to avert the looming fiscal crisis, have mostly discussed changes to entitlements and tax hikes, though so far they have not agreed to anything. Fox News' William LaJeunesse contributed to this report. Hey, it says it all. It's Fox News. It's talking about selling excess property. It is a December 28th, 2012 report. The numbers are higher than I have heard before, but still, whatever the number is, whether it's 14,000 properties or 64,000 properties, whatever, it's crazy that we can't be doing something about that, because with my numbers and the GAO saying that with 14,000 properties, it's costing the American taxpayer $1 billion a year. Folks, that's nuts. We need to sell these properties. And I want to get back to Bob Pliska's remark earlier that when you have a federal building, commercial building, that is sitting in an area where there's other commercial properties and businesses, it is hurting the businesses, and it is hurting the fact that the value of all these other properties are going down. So let's get them in the hands of people who can, private sector people who are going to buy them. And then what are they going to do? They're going to make it into a business. And so they are going to hire new employees. Folks, that I keep on hearing that's a good thing. Hire new employees. Buy goods and services. Pay taxes to the local municipalities. You remember that federal government doesn't pay any taxes. This is a win-win situation all the way around. And I'm just surprised that after 2 years, after President Obama has said this is something that we need to do, the Democrats and Republicans, the House and the Senate, can't get together to make this happen. I want to again say Congressman Denham from California put out a bill last year that was passed in the House, went to the Senate. Nothing happened in the Senate. He is reintroducing it. I think he just did it last week, according to an update that I saw. And hopefully it gets passed, and hopefully this time the Senate can say, with a tweak here and a tweak there, we're okay with it, and let's get this passed. Let's get it to the president's office. Let him pass this bill. Let's do something for the American taxpayers, the American people. All right, that's my rant for the day. Hey, our sponsor is Rowell Auctions. They are a national real estate auction firm that started in 1936. They do online auctions, on-site auctions, and ballroom auctions. They have offices in Florida, New Jersey, California, Georgia, and have alliances with auctioneers and real estate brokers across the country. They do government auctions, bank auctions, bankruptcy auctions, and much more. They have a big auction schedule coming up, so check out their website at www.rowellauctions.com. That's ROWELL auctions.com, or you can call them at 800-323-8388. That's 800-323-8388. While I was reading that, I did lose a caller. My apologies. And we'll have that caller on another time. Again, folks, you're going to have to get to your elected officials, tell them that you do not want to be paying taxes for properties that are not being used. That is foolish. If you were a private business person and had a property that you hadn't used for 5 years, don't you think you might consider selling it because you're wasting money? Well, that would be, you would be wasting your money. Well, the American people are paying for these decisions that are not happening. So, talk to your elected officials. Want to thank again Bob Pliska, Rod Santomassimo, Massimo, and also thank you for listening.